Welcome back to my 15th segment of my last Remnant 100% completion New Game Plus hard mode run. At the start of this clip, all I'm doing is showing sort of the results of the time I've spent in the ancient ruins. Mostly been fighting the observers in there. I've taken down somewhere between at least 60, probably closer to 80 observers. You can see here, for example, that Cheryl is more or less up to speed. She's got Cachexia, she's got some decent stats, although still the weakest member of the team. And everybody else, it's nothing really new other than increased stats. In this segment, though, we're going to more or less wrap everything up that is not an optional bonus boss type guild task. So we're going to do all of the other miscellaneous guild tasks, and we've got 3 quests to take care of, and then all that will be left are the bonus tasks. So starting things off here, we're going to move the story ahead in Underwaltz with a quick skip of the cutscene. We'll be taken to beneath Underwaltz, and there's a little bit of a puzzle maze type area to progress through, and then we will head on to the Holy Plain battle.
Right.
So I'm just going to make a quick comment about this section and compare it to the PC version. So you see on the ground there's these glowing glyphs. I've already moved past it at this point in the video. But in the PC version, when you're trying to make your way through this area, you could actually see what the correct path was to go, because 2 adjacent edges of these platforms would glow with those runes or glyphs that would indicate which path you needed to take, and that's actually been removed in the remastered version. So you kind of have to fumble around a little bit if you're not familiar with it to see which platforms rise and fall to make it through this area. But as you can see, it's really not that challenging. You may hit a couple of dead ends, but you're not going to get stuck here by any means. So the next battle here is at the Holy Plain, and I'm showing you here that illusion is inaccessible until you complete this story battle. You'd want to make sure that if you're relying on some of the higher tiered lotion arts like Heartshorn or Cyclone Cream, that you actually have stocked up on them before you completed the story portion in Underwaltz, because you will not be able to purchase them until after this fight.
Stop staring! If you're just looking this up for kicks.
Impressive, huh?
So this fight is pretty straightforward. You'll see that I treat the opening round similar to what I did in the Koningstor fight, in that I'm just going to stand by and build up some AP so that as the enemy troops close in on me, I'll be able to start the next round with some of the higher tiered arts. The only thing worth pointing out, I guess, for this fight is that after we get through the initial couple of waves and actually move in on the dragon, which is the boss of this fight, that the battle kind of gets me stuck in a loop where only one of my unions can close in on the dragon at a time, and I've seen this in a handful of remastered videos lately. I don't know if it's a change to the remastered version or if we're just unlucky, but it never seemed to be the case in the PC version. You could close in with all of your unions, and then at the start of that first engagement turn with the dragon, everyone would be able to access it. And you'll see here that it's basically one union over and over again until we clear out the majority of the reinforcements.
On your feet!
Here we go! You okay? Help! You can get up?
Let's clean up these fiends! Just a few more steps to victory!
Don't let him take you out!
Coming at ya!
You okay?
For this?
Beautiful!
Back in action!
No surprises there.
Yes!
Alright, so after the Holy Plane here, we're back in Athlum, and I'm taking just a moment here to point out what this conversation with Rush's mother is saying. It's not always obvious to a newer player what the next step is, and she's about the only one who gives a hint. If you have not already unlocked the sixth path by having the first, second, fourth, and fifth path already unlocked, then in order to do so you need to speak with Oswald in Nagapur. After doing so, the sixth path becomes available, and then you can progress through that on through the seventh path, and then eventually into the Sacred Lands. But Rush's mother is really the only one that gives you any kind of a hint as to what needs to be done next.
Observe my stats carefully before making a choice.
What are you looking at? Checking my stats, huh?
The world revolves around me.
Alright, so moving ahead into the sixth path, we have roughly 6 tasks that we need to complete in this area, and we're not going to do all of them here with this visit. I'm actually going to come back and do them under 2 separate instances. The 6 tasks are, we need to take down 24 killer insects, and while we're doing that we need to obtain the tough killer insect husk, which is a rare drop. In addition to that, we need to take down 16 terrapests, which are the large grand beetle type enemies. Those are not a guaranteed spawn, and so you may have to exit the area and come back in if they're not in the spawn table when you're trying to complete this task. And when we take down those 16, we're also looking to get an inverted terrapest barb, so they're one of those rare components. In addition to that, we have to defeat 20 were-dragons. Were-dragons are guaranteed to be spawned, and so we can do that whenever we'd like. And then we also need to, during that time of taking down the were-dragons, we need to obtain 2 Azdaha tails, and those are a magazine drop. And the reason we need those is for Abel. In order to upgrade his weapon, he has all the components he needs for the next upgrade, except for those 2 tails. And so, what we're going to do here on this visit is the killer insects, the killer insect husk, the 20 were-dragons, and the 2 tails, and we'll come back later and deal with the terrapests at another time. The reason for that is I have quite a few scythe wielders in my party, and they're currently at the superior scythe level, and when we take down the were-dragons, they'll also be looking for large were-dragon talons, and so I'm going to deal with upgrading their scythes from superior to superlative, and then I'll come back later and deal with the terrapests, which will allow me to hunt for the next components. They'll need large grand beetle barbs to get from superlative to either might or runic, and so I'm going to do that separately. I'll get the were-dragon component out of the way, have everybody upgrade, then come back in and finish the 2 guild tasks related to terrapests. Now here, we've already wandered through the area, and we're taking down Gojun. What I'm going to do is, after we get through this fight, Gojun blocks the way here to the 7th path. After this fight's over, I'm going to end the segment, or end at least this portion of the video, and then off camera I'll go back and take care of the killer insects, the were-dragons, and obtain the necessary drops needed that I mentioned just a moment ago. Gojun's not going to be challenging by any means. It's going to be pretty standard for us. Keep morale up, flank, and use some defensive commands. Basically the same scheme we've been using for most of the game.
Really now, size isn't everything.
Good effort.
Like that, is it? Smash him from the side!
Bet you felt that one.
This one's putting up a fight.
No surprises there.
Yes.
See
Who
that?
wants to be my
I'm
guinea pig?
constantly growing stronger.
Alright, so I am briefly going to just end the segment. When I come back, you'll see that I've obtained the components that I mentioned previously. We've got the killer insects taken down, we've got the tough killer insect husk shown here in the inventory, and then we've also taken down 20 were-dragons, and you will see here momentarily that Abel has the 2 tails that he needed. That was the last component he needs for his next upgrade. Now we're going to forge ahead here into the 7th path and even onward to the Sacred Lands. He still has one more upgrade beyond the one that he is ready for in order to complete the Divine Francisca guild task, and we'll take care of that after we progress through this area. We are going to move through the 7th path, and we're going to move the story on clear right up to the very end of the game, but obviously we're going to be exiting the Sacred Lands once we get to that point. In the 7th path, there is a guild task to complete. There's actually a rare spawn called Bloodhorn, which is a Floros type enemy. You'll see here I made sure to save it and then start the clip when I knew that it had spawned, but you'll want to take this down for its own guild task. Other than that, there's really nothing else to obtain from this area. Do your best to avoid the Harpilia unless you actually want to engage them. They can stun you on the field, and they're probably the more dangerous of all the enemies in the area. At the very end, at the top of the stairs, if you've never made it this far before, you want to save it before you open the doors, because you don't have an opportunity to have any sort of pause between that moment and the boss fight that follows.
What are you doing?
This is of no concern to
This
you.
is what I've been searching for.
A second too late.
Come on out. Okay, later.
So we've got the Icy Idol fight here, and it's not going to give us too much trouble, but I will comment a little bit about this fight. You may want to delay engaging the Icy Idol while you deal with the trash mobs here first. The Glaganos are not anything to worry too much about as long as you have arts that can deal with a whole union at once, or some of the highest tier combat arts. We'll be able to get through with our item arts. That's basically going to be our go-to for knocking these out in a single turn. The Icy Idol itself can be a little bit of an annoyance. It can use Curse, which can potentially disrupt your team if it happens to boss your Union leader. So we are going to be a little bit conservative for the first couple of rounds. Turn 2, you want to be aware that it tends to use Acid Rain, and that will strike everyone on the battlefield and also completely take your morale. And so be prepared for that. Maybe even hang back or set a couple of unions on the recover your health option so that they hang back and will recover anyone who has suffered from the Acid Rain. Other than Acid Rain, though, you want to keep your morale high because it does do Maelstrom Insignia, much like the other idol type enemies. It's battlefield wide and can be pretty devastating if your morale is all the way at the lowest end of the spectrum. But you already know by now that we have plenty of morale options, and so we're going to be able to bounce back from that without a whole lot of difficulty.
This one's putting up a fight.
Great! Great!
Steady there.
Kick in their faces from the side. You man enough for this?
No surprises there.
Yes! This is what I've been searching for!
A second too late.
Perhaps next time.
So as we move ahead through the secret lands, I'm going to comment about a couple more guild tasks we can complete while we're here. They're both related to rare enemies that are always present in this area. So even though they're rares, they're here every time, and so you can farm them if you would like. We need to take down the Stymphalian Bird, which is a Spirit Lord type enemy, which means you can expect first turn curse. In addition to that, it likes to harass you with Enthrall. It uses the Bewitch command, and that has the potential to turn your allies against you, and so you may want to be on guard for that by not sending in everyone to fight. In addition to that, we're looking for Phallic, which is a rare dragon. Again, always present, so you can farm that if you'd like. Both of them can be captured and converted to a couple of Imperator weapons if you're looking for some higher tiered equipment that is not necessarily obtained by upgrading existing weapons. You can jump a couple of your characters to the end of their upgrade tier with those. Here you see in that treasure chest there was a demon blade, and so that is needed for the Ring of the Labyrinth. If you did not upgrade the Mermaid's Malice to the demon blade like we did, you can still complete that guild task without having to start from scratch. Just by picking up that demon blade. So you'll see here, all we have left to do is fight the two rares that I mentioned, and we'll progress to the area. And at the very end, rather than go through the final door to take on the boss, we're going to teleport back to the world map.
What are you looking at?
Like that, is it? Ugh, that
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Really now, size isn't everything.
I'm back in action!
Come on! We caught him with the pants down! What are you doing?
Believe it!
This one underestimate the height.
Nice!
Here I come! Oh.
I know I'm good. What are you looking at? Damn it! Stand your ground! That wasn't necessary.
Really now, size isn't everything.
Smash him from the side!
Are you even trying?
Damn it!
You're not going to perish with that scratch, are you?
How's that? Thank you.
Alright, so back in the world map, the first task we want to do is head back into town so that Abel will upgrade his Francisca to the Warlord's variant. He's now one tier away from the Divine Francisca that we need for the completion of a guild task. And the first two components, the Mystic Scalenite and the Black Steel Ore, he needs one piece of each of those. We're going to get that right away with a visit to the third path. There's a single harvest point that will give us both of them, and so that is not at all difficult to obtain. The last component, though, we cannot get quite yet because it requires the completion of a separate guild task in order to get the appropriate magazine. And so we'll get the first two components here, and then we'll head to the ancient ruins. We'll fight some greater demons, and then we will come back around and get the final components for Abel. Now, in addition to this visit to the third path for those two harvesting components, I'm also pointing out here that Ankh boulders can be spawned here in the third path, and they're a Colossus type enemy. You can find them here, and you can find them in the ancient ruins. I'm pointing them out because off camera I'm going to come back and take down 21 of them. You need to defeat 21 Ankh boulders for the completion of their own guild task. And so again, that'll be an off-camera task, but at least here you can see what they look like. And if you wanted to fight the stronger version in the ancient ruins, you're welcome to do so.
Come on out! All right! Awesome! Okay, later.
Alright, so this trip to the ancient ruins is really just to fight greater demons. I need to take down 15 of them for the completion of their own guild task, and that's going to give me the magazine I need for Abel so that I can get the last components for the Divine Francisca. Now I'm going to fight them off camera. I'm also going to leave the ruins and head back into the 6th path to take down the 16 Terrapest. I had mentioned that a lot of my party members will need to upgrade even further from the Superlative Scythe to the Runic or Might variant, and I need some large Grand Beetle barbs that I can get from those same Terrapests. But again, off camera, I'm going to go do that. 16 Terrapests. I also need to obtain 1 inverted Terrapest barb. After the break, I'll come back and I'll show that I've accomplished just that. And then, even though you'll see the greater demons are still here on the here before me, I did fight them off camera and complete that guild task. And so, with that out of the way, we'll move on through the ancient ruins and take down another rare enemy for its own guild task.
are you looking at?
Stop staring!
If you're just looking this up for kicks,
Alright, so we already obtained the key for this level. All that remains is to defeat Holy Servant. It is a rare dragon-type enemy. Not only do we need to defeat it to advance further into the ruins, but we also need to take it down for its own guild task. The fight itself has the potential to be challenging. Like other dragons, we'll use breath attacks if morale is not high enough. And in addition to that, it can also use blackout and whiteout in place of its regular attack commands. It's a greater likelihood of doing so as its health nears critical. And so you want to keep your health high in preparation for that. And as always, keep your morale as high as possible as well to minimize the breath attacks, but also to soften the impact of the Arcana. We'll get through this again without too much hassle, since we've already got our same tactics of keeping morale high, defending if need be, and again keeping on the flanks and rear assaults.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Really now, size isn't everything.
Steady there.
smash him from the side!
This one's putting up a fight.
God, what do you think you're doing?
Are you even trying?
I know I'm good.
I feel stronger than I did before.
Alright, so we've taken down Holy Servant. We're going to progress to the next area of the Ancient Ruins. And I really only have one more task that I would like to complete while I'm in here. We're going to save Demigod to be its own separate video, even though it is not technically one of the red text bonus tasks. It is a particularly challenging enemy, and so it tends to get lumped in with all the DLC bosses. I will save that one again for its own video, but I do want to get as close as I can, and so the remaining enemy to take down is Terror Wing. It is a Harpilia type enemy. It is a one-time rare, and so that'll be we'll be approaching that here shortly. But on this tier is an item I've been waiting to get for Pagus, and that is the Amaji, which is a Remnant weapon for him. Now it's similar to like the Daedalus and the Malastrix that I mentioned before. It does not have a weapon art, except that it is a fine weapon for Pagus in that the Godly Bludgeon modifier that it has will match his Dragon Crush, and so it, as far as combat arts go, it's actually just as good, if not better, than some of his other options, such as the Wand or the Tambo. Those two weapons do have additional effects on them. If you were to go the physical route, you can get some physical resistances, and so there are bonuses to using them. But I do not have Pagus in the party to use for weapon art related purposes, and so the Amaji and ultimately its highest tier will be just fine for him. Now, as we make our way through here, the Terror Wing looks just like the Oblivion Wings. It's got a slightly different color palette to it. It does have a tendency to zone in and out just like the other Harpilia do. And what I end up doing is that when I open the room, or the door to the room where it's supposed to have spawned, it doesn't show up. And so I save it and then reload the save, and then it does appear. And so if you come across the same situation where you know it's supposed to be in here, but you can't find it, try saving the game and then reloading it. You see here though that I gambled a bit and ended up getting caught by Oblivion Wings, and so we've got a quick fight here, but these, even though they are one of the stronger rares of the Ancient Ruins, I can handle one of them without too much hassle.
What are you looking at? Stand your ground!
Think you'll be all right now?
I know I'm good.
All right, so coming back, I'm illustrating what I had mentioned previously, and that was that Terror Wing had not shown up or was not visible on the map, and so I saved it and reloaded, and now it can actually be found. It's also not too challenging, except for the fact that it can enthrall you, and so similar to the Stymphalian bird that we found in the Sacred Lands, you may not want to send everybody in to fight it all at once. In the event that it does enthrall you, you've got a couple of unions that are not engaged that can use the cure them if it kills them command. We'll send a couple of them in here and see what it does, and we'll hang back if necessary, if anything, to maybe get the flank and rear assault options from Loki and Russia's groups.
This may even be fun. I know I'm good.
I feel stronger than I did before.
So here we have the Choros Key, which is the final key needed to reach Demigod at the top floor of the ancient ruins. But it's not something that we're going to advance to now. We're going to head on right out of here and then go cash in the guild task for the 15 greater demons. As soon as we do so, we'll have the magazine for Abel, so we can return to the ancient ruins and fight some rock graders. What we're looking for, his last component is the inverted chimera scale, and he needs 3 more of those to upgrade to the divine Francisca.
Right.
Alright, so as I said, we're coming back here to fight these rock raiders, just so we can get the 3 inverted chimera scales for Abel. You can fight any chimera type enemy in order to get this drop. It does not matter which type you fight, so long as you have the magazine. But I'm looking for a little bit of a stat increase, and so I'll figure I'll take on something that's a little bit higher BR, just so I can still get a couple more stats. This fight's only going to take a few moments, and then with those last components, we'll return to town, let Abel upgrade, and then we will cash in on that guild task.
Are you okay?
Remnant, I call upon thee!
That was a yawn.
I know I'm good.
This is just the beginning. Just as I expected.
Alright, so believe it or not, there's only 8 more guild tasks to complete in the game, and all of them involve taking down some kind of a bonus boss monster, and so that'll be a separate video, one of which we did take down earlier. We actually have 1 out of potential 9 completed. The Fiery Gates we did very early in the second half, and if you have postponed doing that, is very common, you may have 9 on your list, but we did it to get some components that I needed for an accessory for Oaks. But other than that, yeah, 8 guild tasks left to do. At this point, we're moving on to the 3 remaining quests, and the first one here is in Underwaltz. You do need to have Glennis in your party to initiate this. You'll find her here in the pub, and this one, History's Boundary, is actually quite expensive. It will cost you 450,000 gold to complete. And the reward for that is you do get a handful of items. You do get a sword, a non-upgradable sword. You get a formation. You get the ability for Rush to use shards. which at this point in the game would take quite a bit of effort and money to upgrade. But if you were looking to do that maybe in a New Game Plus, you have access to shards in Nagapur, and even then it's at the lowest levels when you first reach that area. But what we're looking for here is the Black Marketeer, and he's found in a variety of places here in Underwaltz. Be prepared to shell out some cash with each interaction. The final one, you actually interact with an assistant to the God Emperor, and so you have to go into the castle in order to initiate that. After that, the quest is complete, and you're short almost 500,000 gold, but we are going to make that up here very quickly.
Impressive, huh?
Alright, so back in Athlum we have our final real quest, if you will, and that is the Distant Promise. Speak here with David's messenger and agree with his request, and then you'll be taken to Athlum Castle for a little interaction with David. You'll head off with him to Fornstrand. The quest itself is very simple at this point in the game. All you need to do is wander through the area, and eventually you will meet up with the boss monster, which it's really not challenging for any party at this stage. Your reward for the quest is the Pyramid Formation modifier, and also the accessory, the Vermilion Cameo, which incidentally is a rush-only accessory. Other than that, though, you get a little bit of backstory as to what happened in David's life, and after that, really we have one more quest to complete, which we will take care of immediately.
even trying? Stand up!
You should strike at their flank.
Here I come!
Really now, size isn't everything.
Mystical power! Yes!
All right, with our final quest complete, now we're taken back here to Athlam's pub, where you speak with the mysterious woman that you met at the very start of the game, and you will complete the final quest, if you want to call it that. All it is interacting with this NPC completes the quest, Things Unchangeable. Know that this is really what triggers the highest or most challenging rank of the final boss. If you're not looking to take on the rank 8 Conqueror, then you probably don't want to interact with this NPC. But we do, obviously. We're looking to complete everything, and so that includes completing that quest. With that out of the way, there's really nothing else left here for this video. I'm going to save it, and then off camera do quite a bit of upgrading so that we have our final weapons before we take on all of the bonus bosses.